Alright, this second video, we're going to kind of do the same thing, except we're going to graph cosine. And this one, we are going to change the amplitude and the period. Now, here's the main thing to remember. You see I have it written down. The cosine, we're only going to graph one cycle or one period of it. Cosine always starts with the max. Unless, like if I put a negative out in front, like if that was -2, then it would flip and I would start with the minimum. But in this case, it's +2, so we're going to start with the max. Okay, and then we go down to the equilibrium, which is right here. Then we go to the minimum. All right, we go to the minimum. Then we come up to the equilibrium. Then we end at where we started, which is the max. So every cosine graph, it's going to look like a U shape. Sometimes it's upside down if there's that negative in front. So let's get started here. Okay, this one, y equals 2 cosine of 3x. The amplitude's 2. Well, since I haven't done any vertical shifts yet, what that means is the max is 2, so I'll put 2. That's the max. The minimum is going to be -2. And 0 is going to be the point right in between, which is these points right here, which is the equilibrium point. So just by looking at, if you don't have a vertical shift, just by looking at the amplitude, that tells you how high the wave goes. So we're only going to deal with 2, 0, -2 as our y values when we do the key points. Okay, the period, this is going to get a little ugly here. Period is 2 pi over b. B in this case is this 3. So that's just 2 pi over 3. The increments, we take the period and we divide it by 4. Now if you divide it by 4, that's the same as multiplying it by 1/4. So let's see here, this 2 will go away. It'll change this 4 to 2. So this, the increments, that reduces to pi over 6. So it's going to get a little ugly with the fractions here. Now again, I'm only changing the amplitude and the period. I'm still going to start at the x value of 0. I didn't do any horizontal shifts yet. So then remember, we use the increments, which is pi over 6, to get the next x value. So when I have this 0, I add pi over 6. I get pi over 6. Okay, and then if I add pi over 6 to that, I get, I'm going to write underneath it. If you add pi over 6 to pi over 6, you get 2 pi over 6. I'm going to write it underneath. And I know that reduces to pi over 3. So I'll just write it in the bottom as a reference. Then if I add that, I know I get 3 pi over 6. That reduces to pi over 2. This is the hardest part, just dealing with the fractions. It's not even any of the trick, it's just the algebra. Then if I add pi over 6 to this, I get 4 pi over 6. And 4 pi over 6 reduces to 2 pi over 3. And that's my fifth and final point. Right? Remember, if I'm going from 0 to 2 pi over 3, that distance is 2 pi over 3, and that matches up with the period right there. So again, I'm checking my work as I go. Now that's the hardest part. Getting the y values is pretty easy. As I said, the sine always starts with the max, so it's going to start with this 2, so it's going to be 0, 2. Then I go down to the equilibrium of 0, then I go to the minimum of -2, go back up to the equilibrium of 0, and then I end at where I started, which is the max, which is 2. So that's pretty much all your work. You want to graph those points, and that's it. Domain, all real numbers. Range, the amplitude really affected the range. Now the smallest, or the minimum value is -2 for the y value. The biggest y value, the max, is 2. So let's just take these 5 ordered pairs and let's graph them. Make sure to label our x-axis. Alright, we'll do the same thing. I'll go every 2. Let's say I'm going to say this is pi over 6. The next one's pi over 3. Then it's pi over 2. And I'll do this one. This is 2 pi over 3. So we have what? 0, 2. Pi over 6, 0. Then we go down to the minimum. Pi over 3 is at -2. Pi over 2, we're at 0. And then 2 pi over 3, we end at the max. So when we graph it, it looks like our U shape right here. And there it is. There's our graph for cosine.